panel discussion coming up next on the topic transforming procurement's potential, shifting from cost center to strategic value generator. And to do so, I request our moderator, Dr. Hari Ambadapudi, Value Advisory, Finance and Spend, SAP, to please come upon the stage. Everyone, please welcome him with a very big round of applause. Dr. Hari is a seasoned professional with 22 years of experience covering industry, consulting and analytics. He led large-scale business transformations, delivering tangible business impact in the areas of procurement and supply chain globally. He is passionate about teaching and publications in addition to his role in SAP. Everyone, once again, please give a very big round of applause to our moderator present on the stage. And please keep applauding while I call upon our panelist, Mr. Amrinder Singh, Associate Director, R&D, Procurement, Novartis. Everyone, a big round of applause for him. Mr. Anurag Goyal, Head Corporate SCM, TMEIC. Please keep applauding, everyone. Mr. Sunit Kumar, Head of Supply Chain Management, HIL Limited. Dr. Chandan Shirbhayye, Vice President, Head of Supply Chain and Operational Excellence, Aragen Life Sciences. Mr. Deepak Khurana, Vice President, Procurement and SCM, Suven Pharmaceuticals. Mr. Shashikant, Surve, Head Procurement, Shriram Life Insurance. A very big round of applause for him as well and all the panelists and moderator present on the stage. Everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm really excited to have this discussion with this esteemed panel today in the afternoon. As you all may have noticed, the title of the discussion is really exciting. And when we think about procurement, also if we can recap what all we have discussed since morning, there are three themes that emerge. Innovation in the procurement. We talked about Gen AI. We talked about AI in particular, automation, and the resilience. It is a direct reflection of the changing global order and India's place particularly. And world looks at India as one of the strategic options as far as supply is concerned. And we as an organization also need to exercise lots of options and build the resilience in our procurement and supply chains. And finally, it boils down to innovation. So these are the three themes that we as a panel are going to cut across today. And as a norm, by end of the discussion, we'll be inviting few questions from you to reflect on what all we have discussed. So before we get into the discussion, my first question is to Mr. Deepak Khurana. Can you please throw some light on how procurement leaders redefine their role, given the macroeconomic conditions, from cost controllers to value creators within an organization?
If you look at, and procurement has always been treated as a cost-cutting or cost-saving partners in the organization, which is true. And this is always like that because cost cutting will always interest the organizations. That will always be a part of that. But what if procurement also contribute towards growth, innovation, and resilience in the organization? That will change totally the concept of the procurement at the root level. So I would say to become a strategic partner in the organization, procurement must align itself to the organization's goals, growth, and innovation goals. So if you do that, you're on the right path. You can align all your functions as per the company's organization's requirements, right? And to do that, further you need to get into, like he said, mentioned about AIs and, use most of the data metrics and, analytical tools for the decision makings. That is very, very important, right? So you are one step ahead when you are using these kind of tools and your decision making is accurate and fast. And other parts are, you can always, enable your suppliers and collaborate with them, right? Collaborating with the suppliers is very, very important for the innovation because they are the people, if you collaborate with them, they are the people who are already, done something in their research, innovation, improvement. If you collaborate with them, you can partner with them and, work together to enhance your products or quality of the products, even work with them for cost reductions as well. So they are your most important partners in the organization. And other parts, like if you allow me, so enabling your teams, that is very important because world is changing like anything, right? So people should be skilled, they should be adaptive to the technologies, they should be using, latest tools for their work. And procurement must also look at the possibilities to digitize this function. That is very important. So if you digitize this, most of your people who are doing operational activities, they can, get into more into strategical one. So to get into a strategy, they should have, sufficient time and, tools to work on that. Okay, that is very important. So other part, what I can say, nowadays if we look at ESG, sustainability is the buzzword, and people are working towards that, and that is the key. Procurement must drive this sustainability and ESG in the organization. If you drive it, then you are on the very latest modern path of progress that needs to be done, because every customer in the world is looking at these particular segments to be improved on. So yeah, so these are some of the points which I feel should be there.
Thank you, Deepak ji. Just taking a cue from the ESG thing that Deepak ji was mentioning, I have a couple of thoughts to share here before I, hand over the floor to one of our colleagues here. ESG as such, I'm sure when we do procurement activity, we try to, understand what's the kind of impact that this supplier or this commodity is going to deliver to my overall scheme of emissions, be it, scope 3 or, scope 1. We are in a situation, or we are in an era where we are transforming into a place where we will be paying for the carbon emissions. As of now, the coverage of understanding the emissions is not full across the globe. The targets that we all have taken, be it 2050, 2030, particularly in the case of India, it is 2070, carbon neutral. The dates are different, the coverage are different, the measurement is different. If we look at this from a macro level, it doesn't seem to be a uniformly approached problem. There are lots of solutions which can help in monitoring and also reporting things. But 2022, a minister in Singapore said that I'm going to charge companies $25 per metric ton of every CO2 emission in Singapore. And this is going to increase it to 100 Singapore dollar per metric ton of CO2. If that starts getting anticipated, that starts getting implemented, many of the firms that we see today, they fall into financial distress. Because your emissions are much more than what you make in terms of revenue. Emissions, the money you pay for emissions outweigh the revenues you generate from your business. It's high time that we need to really focus on emissions. Majority of the load, it's fortunately or unfortunately falls on the procurement managers or the procurement function. Now, incorporating those ESG goals is very critical to a procurement manager, and he or she is also aligning to the organizational goals. Taking this insight, my next question is to my panel, Anurag. How can procurement teams integrate sustainable ESG goals and ethical sourcing practices into their strategy while maintaining profitability?
Good afternoon. This is a very good question, and I think all of procurement leaders are getting this kind of questions internally within the organization. This is a kind of procurement paradox that how can we stay profitably while embracing all this sustainability or ethical sourcing? If you ask me, these are not two different things. These are the partners in the process, right? So traditionally what we have seen that the sustainability or ethical sourcing was companies were doing just kind of a checkbox, right? But if you see the companies who are winning today, they saw the value in it, right? And let me just give it a real-time experience from our company. We are manufacturing the products to reduce the carbon emission. And while making those products, we are ensuring that the manufacturing units are also zero carbon emission. Now, what is happening with that? We are giving message to the suppliers or our customers, my mistake, that for their entire supply chain stream, they are having their sustainability is checked, right? As well as, overall it's good for the planet. So this is one way of taking, when it comes to the procurement teams, how you can develop these strategies to ensure that the sustainability and the ethical sourcing is part of your strategy. You can define some milestones, like you can start with some kind of, let's say, plastic reduction. That's one activity we started, and we realized there is no additional cost for that. Eventually we realized there is a profit over the time. So some may see it an investment, right? But over the time you will see benefits out of that. Similar way when it comes to the ethical sourcing, if you develop partners who are the kind of ethical partners for you, you will realize the benefits of doing business with them is far better than the non-ethical suppliers. The reason is the transparency, because those suppliers will give you better transparency. There will not be any compliance issues. And eventually, because of the transparency, you will realize the efforts of your supply chain team is lesser with those suppliers, which eventually yield better results for you, because your team can focus on better things. And there will not be any compliance issues or, because of that, the production delays and all those things will not happen. So I say that this sustainability and ethical sourcing is very, very critical, should be part of the procurement policy. We should not think from the cost, because this is not additional cost, right? It's a competitive advantage on the flip side, right? So that's how I will, that's my point on this.
Thank you so much. You spoke about a wide range of issues. We talked about compliance, we talked about profitability. When we think of what could be an ideal CPO scorecard, there could be some 5 to 6 overarching themes. Compliance is one important thing. Of course, it not only lies with CFO. CPO is already responsible for a lot of compliance issues, which directly relates to what a regulatory reporting that a CFO needs to do, and the ethical sourcing and sustainability expectations are some things which directly fall into compliance. More importantly, we also spoke about innovation. It clearly, pushes me to think there are certain, indicators, or there are certain areas which are beyond, quantifiable in terms of KPIs. I want to ask one of our panelists, Sunit, under these conditions, what are the key KPIs that organizations should ideally track to measure procurement's value beyond cost savings alone?
Okay, hi, good afternoon. If you look at the CFO's dilemma, what happens is procurement says I have brought 10 CR of saving, R&D will say I will have brought 20 CR of saving, but then when he looks at the P&L, the impact is only 5 CR. So who has to solve this puzzle? So the answer lies in the total cost of ownership. So I think if you look at the KPIs per se, and if you divide this in 4 key pillars, first one is a strategic one, where I say that, okay, total cost of ownership impact is what procurement should drive, because when I buy something and I bring X amount of savings on table, there might be an increase in cost due to recipe change. There might be an increase in cost due to net loss reduction going up, net loss going up. So TCO is one factor. Second would be supplier performance index. So today, purely based on pricing, we decide on the supplier score, whereas total impact of a supplier, his non-performance impact also should be adjusted. So supplier overall price minus the performance impact by the purchase price that we have paid to him will give you the supplier performance index. So this is one way of looking at how to evaluate a supplier. If you look at procurement, operational KPIs, we all know we track the procurement cycle time, which is normally a PR to PO cycle. But it is from PR to delivery times, because after the PO is issued, procurement team doesn't take care of it, so the stores guys will call up the guy and then ensure supplies on time. But if the material doesn't get delivered to the factory on time, it's the business which loses. So this is a change that we need to bring in terms of our measurement metrics in operational KPIs. The other one, which is actually hot talk today, is on risk and supply chain resilience. So we have been doing an enterprise risk management in our organization. So price volatility index is what we track. We ourselves give a target of, say, a variance of, say, 5 to 7% on the price on a quarter to quarter level. And you should track whether I am meeting those numbers or not. If you are not, then possibly you need to either onboard a new vendor or try to reduce your supply chain risk in transit. So if your consignments are coming from way abroad, thousands of miles away from, say, North America, you can look at suppliers who are closer to India, which is, say, China or an Indonesia, Malaysia. So this factor is important in terms of measuring reducing your risk appetite. Another factor which I think we all must be measuring is a single supplier dependency. And it is very important to identify the supplier risk score for all those suppliers who are under your single supplier supplies. So these two criteria, I think, would be one of the key criteria on the risk and supply chain resilience. Next parameter which we all talked about is on ESG. ESG definitely reduction of carbon footprint and sustainability ratio of procurement. So sustainability procurement ratio, which means what percentage of your spend you are buying from suppliers who are actually carbon neutral or using eco-friendly ways, or are they using recycled material in their process. So this is one of the criteria on ESG front that can be looked into. The other thing which today I think this theme also talks about is AI in procurement. So digitalization adoption rate. So as a team, I know there are a lot of things to be done in AI and digitalization, but depending on the maturity level of the procurement team, you can set up a target saying that, okay, I am today doing everything, all activities manually. So I move from here to a, say, a reverse auction kind of a model. So let me give a target of 50% in 6 months or in 9 months, depending on the capability of your team. So all these indexes has to be linked to the capability of your team. So different teams, depending on the capability, will have different indexes. Otherwise, this will all bounce back on the team for not getting implemented on time. So these are, I think, couple of things which, to me, I think is critical in terms to measure and ensure that we move from a cost-saving culture to a value-generating culture. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your insights. I mean, in fact, you stressed upon two particular words which every procurement manager now relates to: risk and resilience. I mean, both sides of a coin. One of the fundamental assumptions I would hate to call myths is increase the resilience by building redundancy in the supply chain. This is an age-old tactic. If I have to actually beat inventory or stock out risk, I would hold more inventory. More inventory leads to more costs. More cost leads to less profitability. This is a vicious cycle. If I look back, is this the right approach? What kind of strategies that a procurement manager needs to really think of when dealing with the risk and resilience in a balanced manner? Because my business profitability is at stake. At the same time, I can't go around and have lots of contracts with a lot of suppliers, knowing that I'm actually buying from high-cost supplier, because economies of scale may not work in some cases. So, I mean, very, very specific approaches tailored to industries are required to handle such a kind of problem. I would like to pose the same question to our panelist Amrinder here. particularly in today's volatile and uncertain market, if a procurement manager has to manage these conflicting objectives, how would he needs to approach? And are there any differences by industry?
Thank you, Dr. Hari, and thank you all. So what I would say is the procurement managers should act as the shock absorbers of the organization, so that if a bump comes, they are there to take care of it. So it's like steering the ship like a seasoned captain in a stormy sea. So that's the analogy I'm going to use. Now, one of the ways in which we can do it is diversify our risk, diversify our supply chain, reduce the dependence on single source suppliers, keep the alternates ready so that when the situations like pandemic or COVID-19 comes, we are able to quickly shift to an alternate supplier in that case. Another point is invest in digital tools to automate the processes which can reduce dependence upon humans and put the people on more strategic value-adding activities. So shift it to something, the automation is not just for the sake of it, but in order to increase the efficiencies or augment the efficiencies of the people in the procurement teams. Another point that I would like to bring is doing a risk assessment and scenario planning. So how many of us do risk assessment and scenario planning for our supply chains? This is a very difficult thing to do, but then yes, if done once a year at least, in terms of various kind of contingencies that we can build in our supply chains, then there can be a lot of strength that we can bring into our supply chains. Another point is stronger supplier relationships. We talk a lot about supplier relationships, but how can we measure those supplier relationships? How many suppliers look at us as reliable partners? Not only we looking at our suppliers, but it's the both way around. What is our suppliers' perception about us as the procurement organization or overall organization? So having involving our suppliers early, involving them in activities that we have not done. For example, even involving them in our risk assessment exercises so that they are also aware what we are doing, and then we do co-create our risk assessment strategies around that. Now, last but not the least, we have very rigid contracts that we make, which cannot be changed, that are written in stone kind of. Why don't we shift into flexible contracts with our suppliers so that any change in volume or in case of any change of plan, our plans keep on changing, we are able to quickly adjust our contracts or make our suppliers change their ways of working with us. So all these things, may not work one at a time, but then definitely, if done in tandem, there will definitely be a point where we can bring more resilience and kind of de-risk our supply chains and mitigate probably the risk that we may be anticipating. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful, Amrinder. And in fact, if I have to take one single, point out of this, options to combat the risk. And when I think of options, I think of data, I think of scenarios, because from a procurement manager's perspective, if I have to marry two concepts, spend and control tower, we all understand what a control tower is. We monitor the action, we understand how the action is getting performed, we do any course correction if it is needed. It gives or it puts a lot of control into the execution, and in a very loose term, this is all what we understand in terms of control tower. And when it is overlaid, or when spend gets overlaid with the control tower concept, spend control tower is going to help us with lots of these options. Now, it boils down to the data that is available for us to actually draw these options. Now, I'll turn it around to our esteemed panelist, Dr. Chandan, particularly to help me with how can procurement per se use the data, particularly big data, predictive analytics or AI capabilities to make more and more strategic and informed decisions.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hari. And first of all, best wishes to everybody who is attending this esteemed forum, and I'm sure you all have a lot of things to carry on from here. So coming to the question, so just to give you a background, I am representing an organization, Aragen, which is a leading CRDMO. So we work with almost all global pharma leaders across the globe and who are very demanding
as far as technology and sustainability initiatives are concerned. So this question comes very aptly to us, and we have done a lot of improvement in that front. But when I try to answer it, it would be looking like I'm summarizing what everybody spoke about. Where we can use big data, where we can use predictive analysis, where we can use artificial intelligence. Like Amrinder spoke about scenario creation. So that's where you can definitely use big data and predictive analysis, trend analysis, how you can see the trend of the materials. There are a lot of materials who have fluctuating pricing trends and which really disrupt our planning to a greater extent. Some of this can also help us predict how is the network being utilized. Can I do a better network optimization, route optimization? And then a lot of the colleagues spoke about risk management, compliance. So your artificial intelligence, your big data, your predictive analysis can help you in studying the various regulations. Post-pandemic, many of us might have faced it. The regulations have become so diverse. It's very difficult. One material which is freely importable and exportable from a country is highly restricted in some other country. There are a lot of local regulations to comply. Even within India, each state has their own regulations to be complied with certain category of products. So this all brings a lot of challenges. I believe technology can play a very key role there. Last but not the least, again we spoke about supplier partners. As we call them in Aragen, we call them supply partner. Supply partner evaluation, both at the onboarding stage and also at their life cycle management once they are onboarded. In some of these we have already adopted in Aragen, like we have adopted robotic process automation, which can become part of process optimization. So all the mundane work, right from PO creation, QCS creation, sending PO to the vendor, getting the order acknowledgement, all that stuffs are done by bot in our organization. That creates a lot of human intelligence available for value-adding activities. Likewise, we have implemented a BI tool. We are in advanced stage of adopting artificial intelligence for our sourcing. In last few words, having said that, the journey is not easy in adopting it. There are a lot of challenges you will face in terms of existing infrastructure. Is it good enough to adopt a technology? Or is your supply partners ecosystem good enough to adopt a technology? Because supply chain is one of the organizations which has the biggest data set and stakeholders. So when you try to adopt anything, you have to look at the whole ecosystem and the quality of people you have. Are they skilled enough to handle technology? Today, earlier when we used to interview for a supply chain person, at the most we used to ask him what's his category expertise, network expertise. Unfortunately, now we ask what kind of ERP he has worked on, how well aware he is about aware about the technologies. So these are some of the challenges many of you would face. But yes, it's still, I would say, in supply chain, especially within our industry, it's at an early stage. So gradually the big boys have to take the lead and then set the tone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Chandan. But in fact, just to put a bit of context on, procurement managers or procurement department plays multiple roles, and sometimes the same guy can be a friend, or same time, at the same person can also be an enemy at some point of time. If he gets an expedited shipment, he is a friend to the operations. At the same time, he becomes enemy to the finance. So he has to articulate his relationships with finance, operations, suppliers, and many ecosystems internally as well as externally. The role calls for an adept management of across stakeholder groups. Under these situations, my question is for Shashikant: how can procurement teams work closely with finance, operations, and leadership to align their strategies with overall business goals?
Thank you. Thanks for the question. Am I audible to all? I think this is the discussion post lunch. Then again the sixth question to me. Then again it's overall everybody is waiting to complete the discussion and something. So come to the topic. So there are procurement roles. So now there is a leadership, finance, and operations. So those are different circles, we can say. Leaderships have their own goal, like maintaining the share prices, maintaining the profit. Finance have their own goal, like example, maintaining the balance sheet, control the budget, because they have their own set target from the management. and the operations who are the actually executing the things. They are at the ground level or they are facing the customers. So they have their own challenges. And all of their own challenges, that becomes the challenges of the procurement as well. Because procurement playing you can consider the role of kind of the ambassador or a collaborator who has to ensure that they all talk with each other, either ensure that they will gather at one place or communicated time to time and ensure to achieve the target of the organization, which is the, making the profit. Now here, leadership they are least, frankly speaking, least bothered about what's happening at the other thing. They just want the result or the achievement of the target. And then operations team, they are actually facing the customers or they wanted to go to ready to market fast as well as to, achieve their own targets. So here procurement playing really crucial role as an ambassador where ensure that track each and every activity, ensure to have hurdles, meeting, offline meeting, a good collaboration between the teams. Like it's a kind of, you can say the role like played by the Krishna in the Mahabharata. So where you're no more actually, frankly speaking, you are like, we can consider the IVMS system installed in this venue, okay? It's there, it's required, but it's not visible, but it's important. I think that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, in fact, if you see how procurement technology has evolved over the years, it has got a profound impact on professionals across all levels of procurement team. I mean, both on entry levels, mid to senior, and also leadership levels. I mean, if you imagine the entry level procurement person in 1990s or even before that, it is mostly about generating the POs manually or collecting the supplier related data. Now AI or automation is going to take away a lot of things, which is releasing the bandwidth particularly to nurture the relationships with the supplier. And the outcome of nurturing such relationships results into innovations, which is going to be mutually beneficial both for the organization and also for the supplier ecosystem. Now, under such a kind of context, I have an open question to the esteemed panel sitting on the dais here. I mean, definitely we will all benefit from the multiple perspectives of the panelists rather than one-to-one perspective. Now, there are two questions I would like to ask in sequence. The first one is, procurement is often seen as a function that ideally sticks to a set process. How can procurement teams embrace innovation, not in terms of products and services, but also how they operate and engage with suppliers? I mean, I'm sure the audience would like to hear multiple views on that. Please feel free to, take this question.
I can go for that, Dr. Hari. See, because I believe the success of any function, definitely procurement, is how well we have engaged our stakeholders. So if you can involve your stakeholders more seamlessly and in an integrated manner in terms of selection of supply partners, that's one way. I think then lot of, as we say, lot of conflicts can be minimized. And then the second one is, I think the biggest pain happens, and we were discussing outside of this panel, once our user has decided to order something, they get restless. How fast you can convert that time into order going to the supply partner, that can create a lot of goodwill. Like in Aragen, we have adapted and SAP has that provision. We have uploaded the agreements in SAP and made it auto PR to PO, where so we have made our users aware how should they create the purchase requisitions with all necessary budget approvals. And we have empowered them that they can place the order directly to the partners. I think then they see, okay, we are also part of the order ecosystem. And then the third one is in terms of crisis management, how well we are involving them and being transparent. So do they know well in advance this material is going to get delayed through some technology or some proactive approach by the supply chain and procurement team? That ways we can really create a more collaborative and partnership situation rather than, okay, they are my internal customers and I am only serving them.
Great, thank you.
I would like to share here that as part of, because in procurement what happens is the entire spend of the organization is flown through this function. So importance of processes and the control is definitely going to be there going ahead. But here the challenge today is, after doing a task, how do I ascertain that I have done the best in the industry?
Right.
So that is the biggest dilemma or the question that comes as a procurement team member, that how do I convince my management that I have done the best? So this is one of the best options, or the price or the payment terms and XYZ that can be brought through this contract. So this then takes you to a benchmarking. One is an internal benchmarking. If you have n number of plants, you can do a benchmarking plant on plant, business on business. Second is external benchmarking within the industry and also outside the industry. The challenge today is, see, earlier days, information was not there in system. It was not so much free flowing. But today, if we are lagging behind as a team in terms of grabbing an opportunity and utilizing it, someone else is doing it. And therefore, you always run the fear that, because we control the entire bottom line of the organization, and if we as a team fail, then the business is definitely going to get impacted in a bigger way. So as a procurement team, when today, let's suppose my sales team comes back and says that today is the lean season, I'm not able to increase my NSR, net sale realization. I tell them, okay, I will reduce my payment terms, I will give you a better saving, you reduce your margin, but then do a higher volume on your sales, thereby increase your market share. So this is how procurement today is actually generating value. It is not a cost center anymore. It has become a profit center. It has become a value generator today. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is something really interesting, and this is actually leading to my last question. Probably I would also look forward to multiple perspectives. Now, you said a great point. We are not a cost center anymore. We are going to be a profit center. Under this circumstance, how can a procurement leader elevate himself or his team and influence have a seat at the table at this C-suite, consortium?
I'll take that question. So maybe, how I put it is like, procurement should become the architect of strategy, not just an executor of a process. Or rather, I will put it in more simpler terms, we should become from a department of no to a department of how. So how can we, get or enable our businesses to generate more revenue? How can we get faster time to market? How can we enable them to take faster decisions? How can we, demonstrate in a measurable way the impact that we are going to create? It may be anything in terms of, the KPIs that we put for ourselves, not just, something like what is our PR to PO, lead time. C-suite doesn't care for these things. I think our users also don't. How much impact we create? How do we make sure that we are looking at the bigger picture, the bigger goals of the organization, be it like the ESG goals, be it like the revenue generation goals, be it like, the time to market goals. And apart from that, like, how many times do we lead cross-functional teams? There may be an organizational goal, but then we as procurement have to step up to lead those cross-functional, collaborations, wherein we are at the forefront, we are leading that and executing it. I mean, the best example, and many people have talked about it, is the ESG, goals of the organization. I think procurement is at the forefront of that, and we should take it like by the horns and say, yes, we are the ones who are going to enable it and do it. Maybe a couple of more points is, we also have to tell a compelling story. We have, all procurement professionals have to be great storytellers. Not just, get some material in, but then how do you manage those challenges and speak the language or articulate your language that your C-suite speaks. Not, again, PR, PO, invoice management things, which are like not what C-suite cares for. They care for how you are contributing to the revenue, how you're contributing to the bottom line. So, I mean, of course, there are many other points that my friends can make here, but thank you so much for this.
No, I think you have touched upon most of the points, but I would say procurement leaders are shy a lot, so they are afraid of going in front of the leadership, or in front of the board members and speak their heart. So that is the biggest problem. And sometimes, board or maybe management doesn't, expect that, their procurement leader can be, come too far and be a part of the board. So here we need to take a plunge. We need to, get out of our comfort zone and see to it, how business is running, what business is all about. So what are company strategies? Be a part of that discussion, strategy discussion with the management leadership, top management. So if you are part of that, then you are involved. If you are not, you are left behind. So take a courage and, try to get involved with the business and strategies. That is the best way to, overcome your fears and all. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, see, just extension of that what the delegates have said. See, C-suites are interested in what? They are interested in growth, profitability, and risk. Now, if you see all the three are linked to the procurement, you can link the profitability with the, in place of cost reduction, you can say how much EBITDA you can improve by procurement function. Then it's aligned with the C-suites. When it comes to the risk, you can align the business risks with the supplier risk and present in such a way that that is aligned to the C-suites. The third, so like, you can align or make procurement policy with respect to the C-suites, then you are there. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add on that, frankly, we as a procurement manager, we should come out of our boxes, because we as a procurement person, we have the good network, because we are coordinating internal stakeholders as well as multiple vendors from within, within country, out of country. So we have the good intelligence or best intelligence, frankly speaking, but we should not shy to share all these things, and we should adopt a let's do attitude, because that will definitely bring more collaboration, and user or anybody who is approaching to procurement, they may feel, yeah, so we are the party of the same league, something like that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We have a couple of minutes left for the discussion. We'd be happy to take any questions from the audience.
Knowledge sharing is definitely going to be transform the procurement potential. As Sir said, it should be like sharing of even failures where we went wrong. Always AI may not be able to help us, and in practical situations, I work for infrastructure where logistics suddenly it got damaged because of some accident, one huge structure. That time AI doesn't work and ML doesn't work. Real network will work. Means like vendors, how they can replace, how fast they can work for us and rectify those bended structures or getting it corrected, erection, because we are running with the time limits. So such practical examples which we are going to share, some sessions definitely should be there. This is a very good platform, procurement platform connect today we have. Really I appreciate, and I would like to continue this forever. Giving our failures, where we went wrong, challenges faced, that also we should discuss.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Thank you.
Great point. In fact, I totally agree with you, particularly the contribution of AI, right? I mean, of course, it cannot predict if there's going to be an accident on a road, and a truck cannot really move. A truck cannot really move in the intended path or intended route. But a prescriptive analytics can really take up the situation from there and can suggest the best alternative from there. I mean, of course, it cannot predict what may happen, but it can course correct. How can we, minimize the damage to that extent? But I totally agree with your point. We should not only celebrate success, we should also document failures and see what we can learn out of this. Great point, ma'am. Yeah.
Can I add
Thank
a point?
you.
Absolutely. So, ma'am, great thing actually. Actually, anything that we do in procurement department or any other department is based upon only two things. One is people, other is culture. So are we building a culture where people are not afraid to fail? Why innovation doesn't happen or people don't come up is because we are not creating a culture where people come back and say, sorry, I tried, but I failed. because people are not trying, so innovation is not happening. So this is like the onus is on the leaders in the procurement fraternity. It's like where they create a culture of failure, or they create procurement center of excellence where failure is celebrated and learnings from those failures are now incorporated into the real world scenarios and all. So failures will happen. How you react to those failures and how you learn from them so that you don't fail again on the same points is going to actually help us as procurement, as organizations who help the entire business to thrive forward. I mean, but great point, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I have something on second point also, cost center to strategic value.
Sure.
Definitely the bottom line, nobody observes much, only top line, how much we save from the negotiation. We think as a project procurement leaders, we think that this much we have saved to the company. But at the time, the supplier doesn't supply in time. It's about the project is time bounded, 8 months. If he doesn't finish within 8 months, we will LD will be levied. So we have to cost those things also. How really it comes to the profit, means how much really bottom line is it going in negative, or really it is working in timely manner, supplies are going or not. That type of strategies we have to consider, insurance part, and timely supplies, LDs, risk analysis. These are many other points, bullet points, as a procurement heads we need to take care. So just my idea.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely. I mean, in fact, this can be addressed from two perspectives. One, can we really help the supplier? I mean, if it is a financial crisis or if it is an operational crisis because of which he is not able to deliver the things on time,
True. Make
can
win-win.
as an OEM or a buyer can support him financially or through supply chain finance solutions, etc. That's one aspect. The other aspect, as you said, irrespective of that, if there is going to be risk in delivery, am I actually factoring that in my pricing mechanism or my delivery expectations? So, a great point, ma'am. We need to actually look at that comprehensively.
Thank you.
I think Hari,
So I think, sorry. So I think she raised a very right points. When you are calculating your, PL and saving, when you are hitting the bottom line, right? That should not only, focus on your positives. Negatives also counts, right? So best way is to look at both negatives and what you lost and what you gained during your transactions with the vendors or maybe internal as well, operations. And that should be your, key savings, okay, key points which are hitting positively into your bottom line. So rightly said. So I think there should be a mechanism wherein you need to consider all those points,
Working
negative plus
capital
positive.
and bottom line.
Yeah, thanks.
I think this brings us to the completion of the panel discussion. I'm sorry.
yeah, I think what you can also we can also do as a team is, while we are doing a risk assessment of our own organization, if we do a thorough risk assessment at the supplier end, so let's suppose you have given him a 30 days payment cycle, but he is not financially strong to fund his operations for the first 30 days till he gets his amount. And if you are able to look at what is his manpower and what is the capability he is carrying, then because in civil projects we have all faced this challenge. We target for a certain timeline, but it over exceeds by 3-4 months, which impacts the business.
True.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
You were mentioning that being a procurement person, you would be enemy of one and friend of one,
Sorry, can you please repeat that?
Being a procurement person, when you are finalizing a deal, you would be a friend of maybe user function and the enemy for finance. So people were talking about TCO, or total cost of ownership. Then how practical it is, because everyone is having their own KPIs, and they have to work on it. One way you are talking about TCO, another you are talking about individual KPIs. So how practical TCO would be?
Yeah, it's a great question. In fact, TCO as a concept, we strongly believe that it is going to consider all the costs that an organization may incur, and the objective is to bring it down. That's in theory. What happens in reality is, let's say I'm talking about a supplier supplying a particular part to 2 different plants of the same mother organization. Supplier is actually giving the same part numbers are same, supplier names are recorded slightly differently in the system, with two different payment terms. One is advantageous to the firm, the other one is not advantageous to the firm. The prices are slightly varied. And there are instances where the OEM is buying a lot of quantity from the same supplier with a higher price because the transparency. The bigger problem is the lack of unified data model. If we don't have that, the theoretical concepts like TCO will not work. All that what actually brings to the table is a unified data model which can provide real-time or complete visibility so that actions can be taken.
Hari, just if I want to take that. So if you work across internal stakeholders, TCO is a very strong weapon. So it can actually help you convince the stakeholder that overall on a business-wise, we are contributing positively, so let us align. So this is, I guess, this has proven for me in past, and I guess if we all try it out, it should definitely do wonders for us. Thank you.
I'm really sorry, we have to actually stop this. Yeah.
That was a polite way of saying we should. Maybe offline we can take the
One last question probably you all can answer.
Hi, I'm Puneet. I have one practical question here. Like we are now working on the automation part, but when we work on this capital related equipments and all, based on the MOC, there's a lot of variance in the MOC compared to 3 or 4 vendors. When we come to the comparison part, in the robotics or in the artificial intelligence, how do we deduct that? Like if we compare SS304 with 316, there will be a huge price variance in that. How do we work on that and how to minimize the things there? This question will be to Mr. Chandan.
No, so see, I did mention about few challenges when you adopt technology. One of the challenges is how well you have standardized your processes. See, technology, that's why it's called artificial intelligence. It's a artificially created intelligence. You will have to standardize your requirements. You can't compare SS304 with SS316 or a steel material with a cast iron material. And I'm sure when we do manually also, we are not comparing it. Only thing is when we do manually, we try to bring that normalization. So same thing has to happen in technology. So you will have to create your BOMs which are standardized, and the same BOM has to be quoted by all the vendors. Now, if the material one vendor is able to supply with SS304 and somebody else is supplying with 316, it depends on you what is your requirement. If your requirement is 304, you should insist for the other party also to quote with 304 only. So standardization is going to be the key. In a very simpler way, if I have to answer, standardization is the key for adopting any technology.
But the quality also comes into the picture. How do we work on that? Because
So
quality-wise, SS304.
Agreed. Then you ask SS304 guy to quote with SS316. See, you can't buy gold if somebody is quoting silver, and you are not forced to buy gold if you want silver. So you will have to optimize it. You will have to standardize it.
But then the number of vendors might reduce because other guys are using SS304 as their company component.
Agreed.
And the other person is using SS316 for the same thing. He is using that.
No,
How do we minimize on that? Yeah.
So total cost of ownership concept what Sumit said, 304 and 316 will not have the same life. So basically total cost of ownership of the equipment when you put on the paper, you will be able to compare them. Because this happens while you buy a package. Package comes with the standard specs and you can't change the specs.
many times make. You are only talking about MOC. The makes also make a difference. Yeah.
So there are so many other components are also there, So you have to have apple to apple comparison, and standardization, as you said, is the key. Wherever you fit your bill, you need to see that all the vendors are supplying the same material. It serves your purpose, and not really TCO matters. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you all. Thank you. Any questions? We'll take it offline.
Yes. Thank you very much. Can we give them a big round of applause? Sir, I request you to please felicitate Dr. Hari Ambadapudi, to please felicitate our panelists. Yes, please keep applauding while I take their names. Mr. Amrinder Singh, everyone, a big round of applause. Mr. Anurag Goyal. Mr. Sunit Kumar De. Dr. Chandan Shirbhayye. Mr. Deepak Khurana. And Mr. Shashikant Surve. Thank you so much. I request all of you to please pose for a group picture together along with your certificates. Would be great if you all can match yourself with the pictures on the screen.